Hello to you early arrivers. What's good? What's good? How we doing? What's everybody drinking? Just getting the schedule up here. All right. Let some folks trickle in. Tonight, we're back to my favorite beer in the entire world. Elysian Space Dust IPA, based out of Seattle, Washington. Funny story about this. The Chargers played a preseason game in Seattle last year, and I made the trip, and I made sure that I was getting there the night before because they were playing a night. It was like a 7 p.m. game Pacific time. And I booked my flights so that I would get in and have time to go to the Elysian tap room because they're my favorite brewery. They make my favorite beer. It's my first time ever going, and ended up sitting on the tarmac for 2 hours. Flight got delayed, and it was closed by the time I arrived in Seattle. So still have never been, but an excellent beer if you want to check it out. My favorite in the whole world. I was looking through the selection at Ralph's, and I was like, you know what? Why not go for a classic? If you know at this age, I'm 28 years old. If you know you like something, just hammer it. Also picked up some chicken thighs, marinating those right now in some soy sauce, hoisin sauce, oyster sauce, a little hot honey, a little ginger. Gonna sear those off and make a little stir fry noodle with some bok choy and a red onion left over. So that's what's going on with me. What's going on with you guys? The schedule is out. Now, we knew all the opponents in January because those get figured out once all the standings are finalized, but we didn't know the order in which the Chargers were going to play these games. And we also didn't know, what was going to be in prime time, what time they were going to play at. And so that's what today was. And so now we know. Before we get into my takes, I wrote already my takeaways and breaking down the schedule. So click the link below if you're not subscribed to The Athletic. And go read that. I got my record prediction in there. Got best offense they'll face, best defense they'll face, toughest stretch, all that stuff. We'll talk about it a little bit here, but obviously I go in more depth in my writing than I do on here in the stream. So if you are not subscribed to The Athletic and you're not reading my stuff, it's this, but a lot better because I'm a lot better at writing than I am at talking. So make sure you check that out in the description right here. I also poured myself a glass of Sauvignon Blanc earlier, but this is hops with pop. I was like, am I really going to hop on here and be drinking Sauvignon Blanc? Like, got to support the brand here, and the brand is hops. So we're drinking beer. All right. So what do you guys, you want me to go through my takes real quick? We'll fire off some takes and then do some questions. Does that sound good? Let me know. Should we talk about the video first? We can talk about the video first. Okay. So masterfully done by Jason Levine. He's their VP of content. We crossed paths when I was covering the Jets, and he was doing video for them back in the day. But he leads the whole operation, and they did just an outstanding job. I'm going to find out more. The rookie minicamp is tomorrow, so I'll find out more about the backstory. Did they outsource it to legitimate anime producers? I'm not exactly sure, so I'll find out more about that tomorrow. But the Chargers have, in my opinion, the best content team in the game. They do a great job, and this was maybe their best work yet. They took shots at everybody, and it's all in good fun. it might come back to bite them at some point. But just Easter eggs all over the place. My favorite parts, the, the Browns bit about deferring to their lawyers and leaving nothing out there. I thought that was hilarious. Obviously, with the situation is awful, but it was a funny way to attack that certain topic. The Antonio Brown discarded helmets in the trash can, I thought was hysterical. The Seahawks bit about the Legion of Boom Cemetery, and then a little dig at Mina Kimes there in the background, which was hilarious. The Brandon Staley anime fourth down. Oh, that was really good. That one is saved on my desktop, and that will be coming out again, apparently. What were your guys' favorite parts? I thought it was really well done. Urban Meyer thing was hilarious. It took me a second to get it. I didn't pick it up the first time, and someone tweeted at me about it, and I went back and rewatched it, and I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Just the Jaguar in the bar sitting down in the stool. Oh, yeah, the Colts merry-go-round was really funny. Yeah, I'm sure Joey Bosa had some input on it. Broncos ones were really good. The 28-3 Falcons dig on the Waffle House board was really funny. Pat McAfee stuff was really funny. So what's I didn't understand that. The Mile High Stadium burning, what was that? Oh, really? I didn't see that. That's a little Easter egg. The Rivers 90-yard touchdown. 90-yard touchdown. It's a great Rivers moment. The Bears with the Bosa brothers. I didn't pick that one up. That was good. Oh, let Russ cook. Ah, okay. Oh, and then it was on fire. Right. It was literally on fire a few weeks ago. I remember that. Okay. What else did you guys like? Oh yeah, the Kyler Murray deleting posts thing was really funny. So they do the Pop Tarts thing every year. I mean, like obvious collaboration opportunity here with the Pop Tarts bit, but I don't make those decisions. Shout out Frank Garcia. He's drinking Space Dust too. Excellent beer choice, my friend Frank. Well done. Oh, burning the. I didn't even pick that up with the Rams. Burning draft picks for wins. It worked for them, so. Hector's drinking a Stone Hazy. Stone makes good stuff. Can't go wrong with a Modelo, James. Never going to criticize that. All right. Enough about the video. Really well done. If you haven't gone and watched it, go see it. Shout out to the Chargers. They did a fantastic job. If you want my record prediction, you're going to have to click the link. I will not be revealing my record prediction in this live stream because ultimately The Athletic pays my bills and not these YouTube streams. So if you want my record prediction, click that link below and you can go find it out. I will tease, though, that last year I predicted 9-8 in this exact file that I published this time last year, and I was correct. So, I'll just let that speak for itself. If you really want the record prediction, go click that link. All right. And haters, don't post it in the in the chat. I'll ban you. Ban if you post the prediction in the chat. Jonathan Lee says 17-0. I'm with you. Perfect season. All right, so let's get into it. A few takeaways right off the top. Oh, James. Well, I guess I can't ban the people that post the record because then everyone will know what it was. Oh, interesting. All right. So we'll get into it here. A few things off the top. 5 primetime games. Last year, it was initially 3, and then they got the 4th that was flexed in week 18. That's tied for the most in the league. And I think that's fair. Like, this team is really fun to watch. Justin Herbert is really fun to watch. They're exciting. They're aggressive with the 4th down decision making. If I'm a neutral, as they would say abroad, when talking about soccer, if you're a neutral fan, why wouldn't you want to watch the Chargers? If you're sitting there on a Sunday night, your team already played, you'd want to watch the Chargers. You'd want to watch Justin Herbert. You want to see the uniforms. You want to see this guy, play quarterback, right? You'd want to see a team that's aggressive, has some playmakers on defense. So I think it makes a lot of sense. So just going through them here, they got the Thursday night game at Kansas City in week 2. They have the week 6 Monday night game hosting the Broncos and Russell Wilson. They have Sunday night at the 49ers, who were in the NFC Championship game. That's going to be a really fun matchup. Some interesting storylines there. Shane Day used to be on Kyle Shanahan's staff. Shane Day is the quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator for the Chargers. And then obviously we have the Bosa brother matchup. Obviously they're not going to go against each other, but that'll certainly be a storyline that week. And then we have back-to-back primetime games Monday on Boxing Day. I'm using a lot of soccer terms here. The day after Christmas. Monday at Indianapolis, Matt Ryan and the Colts. Frank Reich obviously used to coach for the Chargers, so some interesting storylines there. And then the following week on New Year's Day, Sunday Night Football, Chargers, Rams, SoFi Stadium. Should be a lot on the line in that game. And that's going to be a ton of fun because the Battle of LA is real. These two teams are jockeying for position in the market. Obviously, the Rams have the Super Bowl. I mean, this is something that is on players' minds, on coaches' minds. Like, Drew Tranquill brought it up unprompted on Monday, 2 Mondays ago, on May 2nd, just saying that, we know that we have a lot of work to do in the market, and we know we have to win to claim our place in Los Angeles. And so that's going to be a big game. So those are your 5 primetime games. I think it's an indication of where the organization is, how exciting their product is. And that should make you guys as fans really, really excited. They're in position to contend for a Super Bowl. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But the way that they get there is important. And I think that's something that permeates around the organization, that obviously winning is the ultimate goal, but how you win matters as well. And if you win by throwing the ball downfield, by being exciting, by being aggressive, that's going to get you on primetime television, including on prime time television, Amazon Prime Video, hosting Thursday Night Football this year. That was a bit that I did in my article that honestly was better in writing than it was when I said it out loud. So, yeah. Sometimes that happens. All right. So, second takeaway for me is the stretch from week 10 to week 13 is pretty brutal. And that's a really key part of the season. You're starting to realize who's for real and who isn't around that time of the season. And you can really distance yourself and make a real push for the playoffs at that point in the season. Now you have to really, play good football down the stretch of the season. But if you're losing games from that middle stretch of the season, that early part of the second half of the season, it's going to be really hard to come back from that. So you've got, as previously mentioned, Sunday Night Football at the 49ers. You come back the following weekend and you host the Chiefs in what I could effectively be called a primetime game. I mean, these 125 starts on CBS are, primetime games in the sense that CBS at that spot with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, they get first pick of whatever they want that week. So, those games are a big deal. It's, in certain ways, it is, the biggest game of the week because they do have priority in those situations. So, no Sunday night or Monday night Chiefs game, but obviously you have the Thursday night game and then, which is the debut of Amazon's product, calling these games. And then you have a 1:25 Pacific time, 4:25 Eastern time start there on November 20th on that Sunday. So, 49ers won the NFC Championship game last year. Chiefs were in the AFC Championship game last year. Those are really tough back-to-back games. And then you've got the Cardinals the following week, Sunday afternoon, November 7th. That's on the road in Arizona. And, we'll see what happens with Kyler Murray. Like, is he healthy at that point of the season? But that's a tough player to play against regardless of the time of year, if as long as he's on the field. And then you go to the Raiders the following weekend, December 4th, that's Sunday. And you play, in Las Vegas against a division opponent. So those 4 games, like, I look at the schedule and I'm like, those 4 games really, to me, are going to decide the season because 3 of them are on the road. I went back and I looked, the teams combined to go 43 and 25. Do I have that right? I don't know if that math checks out. 43 and 25. All 4 teams made the postseason last year. So that stretch right there is a real gauntlet. And, that jumps out to me as well. Got a rematch with the Texans. That's coming in week 4. We knew that was coming. Obviously last season, the Chargers make the playoffs straight up. If they win that game at Houston, they're going to be back in that same place. Not a game that I'm sure like the national media would be looking at closely, but something that's going to mean a lot to these players that are coming back because I guarantee you they're still thinking about that game. Because if they won that game, the whole season is different. They're in the playoffs and everything changes. Browns in week 5, going to Cleveland this time around. Obviously, could be a different quarterback. We'll see what happens with Deshaun Watson. But yeah, those are my initial takeaways. Let's do some questions. What do you guys got? So James says, not to spoil, but is your record prediction good enough to win the division, in your opinion? I think it will be. It's going to be a bloodbath in the AFC West. I'm trying to think what won the division last year. I think it was. Oh, okay. So 12-5 won the division last year. I'm probably going to end up spoiling this, but by now hopefully everyone already clicked the link and subscribed. Yeah, I mean, Bills won at 11-6, Bengals won at 10-7, Chiefs won at 12-5, Titans won at 12-5. I just feel like that these teams are going to beat up on each other so much in the division. 12-5, 12-5, 13-4, 13-4. I just get the sense that these teams are going to beat up on each other so much that 11-6 should get them there. It'll probably be a tiebreak scenario if that happens. 12-5 with that schedule is pretty tough with the way that it's set up. But yeah, that's where I'm at. 11-6 division win. Spoiled it for myself. Good job. Great promoter here. I would make inroads in Las Vegas as a promoter. Good job, Dan. All right, Bolt Brett with how do you feel about the post-bye stretch? So basically, we had questions that we had to answer for our schedule analysis, and it was one of them was like, what was the toughest stretch? And so, I picked that 10-13 stretch because that's a really tough 4 games. However, those last 4 games were in contention there, right? Like, Titans were the number 1 seed in the AFC last year. Obviously, they traded A.J. Brown. They got Treylon Burks as a replacement. But you know that a Mike Vrabel coach football team is going to be good. How good? We'll see. Then you go out the Colts, that running game, Matt Ryan. Obviously not the same quarterback he used to be, but, Frank Reich is an excellent, excellent offensive coach, and you feel like, oh, sorry, I just got a call. Can you guys hear me? We still good sound wise? Just got a call from the girlfriend who didn't know I was streaming. Still good? All right, sweet. You feel like the Colts are going to be good with that running game. Jonathan Taylor's still there. Quentin Nelson, good offensive line. Bring Matt Ryan in the fold. Feel like they're going to be good. Obviously, the Rams are the Rams. Then you close at the Broncos in Week 18, and it's Broncos are going to be a different animal this year, right? Like they've always had a really good roster. They've always had a really talented defense. They've always had really good skill players, and it always felt like, okay, if they just got a quarterback, they're going to be real contenders, and now they have it. So that 4-game stretch, the post-bye stretch is really difficult. I mean, the only two games that aren't like super big concerns are probably the Falcons and the Dolphins, but who knows what the Dolphins are going to be, bringing in Mike McDaniel, trading for Tyreek Hill. That's, it's not a layup there. The Falcons are going to be bad. They have a dreadful roster. But that's Week 9. Week 10 to 18, it's gut punch after gut punch. And Chargers are going to have to show up and play really good football down the stretch. That's really that's really what this season is going to come down to. Can they play really good football in that second half of the season? After that Falcons game, there's no let up. There's no mini bye, right? There's no Thursday night game because that's in Week 2, and there's no bye. So it's going to be week after week after week. You're talking about, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games in a row. You get past that Falcons game, that's 9 like legitimate opponents in a row. And so we're going to see, like, is this team talented enough? What's going on with the injuries? It's obviously always a big thing. If they can stay healthy, you feel like they have a chance. My two biggest areas of concern for this team coming out of the draft were corner and edge. They filled those with veterans, which was a fine backup plan, right? Like, I think they really wanted to draft a corner, and I think they really wanted to draft an edge. I know they were close to drafting an edge, but the board didn't fall the way that they wanted to. And I think that in the back of their mind, they said, okay, these are two areas where we really have to build out depth. But if we can't hit on it in the draft, we have these two veteran options that we feel like fit really well and are going to build out our depth. And that's what they did. The only concern with the roster for me, and this is saying something because usually I have concerns. The only concern for the roster with me is right tackle. And we'll see. I mean, they have a plan, right? They're gonna let Trey Pipkins and Storm Norton battle it out in training camp. For now, they say they're not going to look at Jamari Sawyer. I don't know why I keep botching his name. Jamari Sawyer out there. We'll see. Things change. You're in training camp. Say they throw him out at right tackle with like a third team offensive line. They like what they see. That could change. He doesn't have the physical traits necessarily to be a right tackle in the NFL, but he's played a lot of tackle against really good competition in college. In my mind, I'm like, okay, throw him out there, see what he is, right? Start him on the third team, let him play some right tackle. If he does well there, move him up to the second team and see what happens. I mean, there's no downside to sort of throwing him out there and seeing what happens. So they're going to but for now it's going to be Storm Norton and Trey Pipkins, and they feel like if they have a solid 4 elsewhere on the line, you can leave Rashawn Slater on an island. You've got a really, really strong interior trio with Filer, Lindsley, and Zion Johnson. You can then divert all of your help to that right side. And that's the plan. And we'll see what happens. That's my only concern with the roster, though. And usually I go into the season with 5 or 6 concerns. For me, it's like, that's it. And if they feel like they can scheme around the right tackle, then they're going to be in business. Anyway, that was not what the question was asked. Sawyer. Is that what it is? Sawyer. Is that what Dane had in his... I keep botching this. I feel really bad. This is why I said I'm a better writer than talker. Because guess what? I can spell Jamari Sawyer. Let's see what Dan had. Jamari, no pronunciation for the last name. Sawyer. Jamari Sawyer. Boom. Never going to forget it. Sawyer. Jamari Sawyer. Someone's going to clip this out and put it on Twitter. All right, more questions. Let's go. I got maybe 5-10 minutes, unless you guys want to cook with me. Gotta throw my chicken thighs on. Is Kendrick dropping an album tonight? My kitchen's kind of a mess. I don't know if I want you guys to see it. Kendrick at midnight. That's midnight Eastern time? Yeah, I will 100% be listening to it. I loved his last album. What was that one called? Damn. Yeah, that album was amazing. I love that album. Yeah, that was on repeat for me. And I'm not really a big hip hop fan. But lyrically that album was fantastic. I love that album. Yeah, I'm kind of just like a huge music fan. Like I'll listen to whatever. Like I make, when I make music, I make, melodic house, electronic type stuff. But I'll listen to whatever. I don't know if you guys can see. Got my records right over there. What's up right now? Marvin Gaye live from the London Palladium in 1979. We've got Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run. We've got Seven and Mary, Rainbow Kitten Surprise. And we've got up there Avicii, Tim. Because I put it up there on the anniversary of his death because Avicii is, my God, the Mozart of our generation, my generation. Yeah, that's a good take. Dan was like a Forest Hills Drive Cole type album. So J. Cole is like my favorite rapper. I know he gets a lot of hate, but I've loved him since like Grown Simba, since like his mixtape days. And it reminded me of that. Like not any like hit tracks, but start to finish, just like a super easy listen and like fantastic lyrically, great beats. Like I love both those albums. Favorite artist is Lane 8. He's like my hero. I love him so much. Yeah, the warm up and the come up. Those are both great mixtapes. Grown Simba was like my favorite Cole track growing up. Frank Ocean, not a huge Frank Ocean guy. Like respect his talent certainly, but not somebody I listen to very frequently. If I wasn't a writer, would I be a DJ? I don't know. I mean, I'm like trying to like release music, and I do like to DJ in my free time. It's just like more of a hobby than anything else. So like when I have free time, I like to sit down and make music and DJ and stuff like that. But I love to write too. So I think I'm gonna do both. Tom Telesco? Is everyone seeing this? Tom Telesco in the chat asks, how much run does Spiller get year one? I just took a screenshot of that. I mean, we'll see how training camp goes. But I think that he has a clear path to being the number 2 back. But a lot of it depends on how Joshua Kelly and Larry Roundtree progress. Like, year 1 to year 2 is a big jump. You have a full off season, for Larry Roundtree in particular, specifically, his first off season as a professional, full off season. You saw some flashes last year. To me, he feels like more of a third running back, special teams type guy who can make an impact on coverage. I'm waiting. You see the talent with Joshua Kelly. It's very apparent. I thought last year when they were really searching for that running back 2 spot, I thought he was going to step up, but we never really saw it. I don't know if he got as much of an opportunity as he might have deserved. But obviously internally they don't feel like he's going to be the guy if they're out here drafting a running back in the 4th round. So, they're going to have 3 young guys in there battling it out. And if Isaiah Spiller can come in and be the type of back that he was at Texas A&M, he has a clear path to being a number 2 behind Austin Eckler. And I think if they're smart, they will, they will find a guy and give him a significant amount of carries, because Austin, talking to us after the season, Austin Eckler was like, yeah, I'm the lightest I've ever been. This season took a toll on my body. Obviously scored 20 touchdowns and he was highly productive. But if you want him to be his best at the end of the season, you need somebody to take the load off of his shoulders a little bit. And that guy right now looks like it's going to be Isaiah Spiller. Now, if he comes into camp and he isn't very good, that changes things. If Larry Roundtree and Joshua Kelly come in and are lighting it on fire in training camp, that changes things. But right now, it feels like Isaiah Spiller has a path to being that number 2 back behind Austin Eckler, and they devoted the capital to it. You guys are crazy. This guy went out and made a YouTube account with the name Tom Telesco. That's really funny. Could the Falcons be the annual Chargers trap game? It would never be an annual game because they're in the NFC. The Texans, though, are in contention for the annual Chargers trap game. What DAW do I use? I use Ableton. I know a lot of people that use Logic, but we're talking about music producing software. But yeah, it's just what I've used since I was in college. So I'm really, really comfortable with it. And I know like a lot of producers that I watch, they do track breakdowns and that sort of thing. A lot of them use Ableton. So I'm a big fan. I like it. It's what I'm comfortable with. Why is Pipkin slated to start if Norton started last season? He's not slated to start. They're going to be competing for the job, those 2 guys. All right, more questions. Thoughts on the current wide receiver room? It's obviously outstanding. You've got Keenan Allen, you've got Mike Williams. You expect a leap from Joshua Palmer going into year 2. Jalen Guyton is your speed threat as number 4. I felt like they needed to add more speed. I think a lot of people felt like they needed to add more speed. Obviously, the Chargers didn't think that they needed to add more speed because they didn't do it. I feel like if Danny Gray was there in the 4th round, they would have picked him. But he ended up going in the final pick of the 3rd round to the 49ers. DeAndre Carter has some speed, but he's not exactly the type of speed the Chargers are looking for in terms of like an outside threat who can burn downfield. I think he ran like a 4.48 or something when he was going through the combine process, pre-draft process back in 2015. They signed him as a returner. He can play some receiver and does provide some depth there, but I don't think he's the type of speed threat that they were looking for. So they're going to head into the season with Jalen Guyton. There were a few options still on the board, but in terms of free agents, but Keelan Cole just signed with the Raiders. I thought he was a possible option. But it seems like this is what they're rolling with. They feel like they have enough. We'll see. We'll see. And I think part of the calculus is that they feel like Mike Williams is a deep field threat. He accesses the deep part of the field in a different way with size, with jump ball ability. And so they feel like they have that there. With Jalen Guyton, they have enough. I wouldn't say that it's at the level of it being like a concern for me, a roster concern. Maybe a question mark. I feel like those are two different things, right? We saw this play out last year, where they did get a little bit predictable in terms of how they use Jalen Guyton, but they do have really talented receivers, and they have a really accurate quarterback who's only going to get better at processing. They were super efficient last year in the passing game, so I don't think it's necessarily some catastrophic mistake not to add speed. I think it's something they could have added. They opted not to, and we'll see what happens with the offense as a result. Joe Reed is still there, who has 4.43 speed, but he hasn't really materialized the way that they thought he would. Fifth round pick, you're not going to expect a fifth round pick to be a slam dunk, but KJ Hill is no longer on the roster. Link to my SoundCloud. Yeah. I tweet it out sometimes. I'm not really looking for like a ton of people to listen to it. I'm trying to hone my craft so that, when I send my music to labels, that it's like professional enough to get released. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to turn the light on. Sun's going down. Tom Telesco asks, Derwin deal. Why don't you tell us, Tom Telesco? You think a Derwin deal is going to get done? All right. Away game that I'm excited for. It's a good question. Honestly, the away slate from a road trip perspective is not fantastic. I would say San Francisco, but that stadium is not in San Francisco. It's in Silicon Valley. So I'm not even going to stay anywhere close to San Francisco. I'm going to stay in Santa Clara in Silicon Valley. I like a Courtyard Marriott there that I like. So I guess I'd have to say Atlanta. I've never really spent much time in Atlanta. I haven't been to the stadium, which is supposed to be fantastic. So I'll say Atlanta. I think that's the road trip I'm excited for the most. And then obviously, I love Kansas City. Go get some barbecue. Can't go wrong with that. Okay, best road trip for a guy from the East Coast of Canada. Kansas City. Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Make the trip for that Thursday night if you can swing it. 100%. Yeah. It's to me, it's the best place to watch football in the country is Arrowhead. It's just, it's perfect. It's a perfect stadium to watch football in, and then you get in Wednesday night, Thursday. Before you head over to the stadium, go grab some because it would be a 7:15 start in Central Time. So go grab some barbecue, like a little late lunch. Head over to the stadium. Yeah, that's the move. Best places to eat. Q39 near Arrowhead. Not necessarily near Arrowhead, but in KC. Q39 is the best barbecue I've had there. I've eaten Gates. I've eaten Q39. I've done Oklahoma Joe's. So I've done a few places around there. I haven't done Jack Stacks, which Money says is the best barbecue in KC, which is going to be my move this year. But yeah, for me, it's Q39. It was fantastic. So Tom Telesco just gave us a 100 emoji for the Derwin extension. So you can take that for what it is. Sources say. Am I going to stay with Nando and Gilberto? No. So I'll stay at a hotel, but definitely going to see Nando when we go to Indy. I'm very excited for that. That's my guy. Go-to BBQ dish. Whenever I'm at a barbecue restaurant, I usually like ask what their specialty is. So it depends like where you go, right? Like you go to the Carolinas, it's usually pulled pork. You go to Texas, it's usually brisket. You go to St. Louis or Kansas City, it's usually ribs. Um, so I usually like ask what they're known for, and then I get that. That's really like my strategy for any restaurant I go to. I'll ask the waiter, like what any can't miss things on the menu, because usually they'll tell you like, oh, this is our signature dish. Like when I was in Big Sur last weekend, we spent a couple nights at Carmel and like went to a restaurant up there, recommended by Jason Staley, Brandon Staley's brother, twin brother, who gave me this recommendation for a restaurant called Casanova. And I just asked him like, what are the can't miss things on the menu? Shout out Jason for those recommendations. And the waiter was like, "Oh, we have this, spinach gnocchi on the menu that's been on the menu for 30 years." And so we ordered that, and it was fantastic. So that's usually my go-to, even like regardless of the restaurant, but particularly barbecue places. Do I like bourbon, American whiskey? I'm a big bourbon fan. If so, what's my go-to? Depends how much money I want to spend. Um, I love Buffalo Trace, as everyone knows. If I'm looking for something like a little cheaper that's still quality, I'm a big fan of Maker's Mark. If I'm looking to spend a lot of money, I usually go Basil Hayden. Um, those are kind of my three that I rotate through. But for me, like Buffalo Trace is a really good price point. You can get it. I think it's like 30 something a bottle here in Venice. It's good stuff. But yeah, if I'm like, oh, I want bourbon, but I don't want to splurge, I usually get Makers because you can usually find those bottles for pretty cheap. So is this a thing now? So I just saw this. I saw some people tweeting at me. Does everyone think that they're gonna like re-sign Brian Bulaga? Is that a thing? Can you tell me if that's a thing in the chat? Okay. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. I don't know. I saw a couple people tweet at me about it. I just saw it in the chat too. All right. Any more schedule questions? We'll wrap this thing up. And then yeah, I don't know when we're gonna do another one of these. Maybe not until training camp. Now we'll do them before then. I love you guys too much. AFC West rankings are in the article I wrote, so go check those out. Favorite spot in Big Sur? Talking like hiking, food, Vista Point. What are you talking about there? Yeah, the cooking TikTok page. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if I have the energy to produce even more content. Oh, Oh, you're good, James. Don't worry about it. You don't have to apologize. But just, yeah, click the link below. My AFC West rankings are in there. My record prediction, all sorts of good stuff. So if you're not subscribed to The Athletic, make sure you click that link below and go read everything that I have to say or write about the schedule. Hiking in Vista Spot. So my favorite hike that we did was Tanbark Trail to Tin House Road. Pretty long hike. It was probably like 9 miles or so, but it was really cool. So it's right by Parrington Cove. So we went down to Parrington Cove and got like these super cool views of like the rocks and scrambled up some rocks and like saw some like cool ocean breaks and stuff. And then we hiked all the way from sea level up like 2,000 feet up this Tanbark Trail through redwoods right by a creek. And then you get up to the top and you get onto this road. There's a nice lookout there. And then you get onto this road, Tin House Road, and you're basically like walking right along the coast, like cliffs. Like you look right off the road and you're right on the ocean. And it was just incredible, like absolutely incredible. And then I know this isn't Big Sur, but we went up to Monterey and did whale watching with Monterey Bay Whale Watch. And honestly, one of the coolest experiences of my entire life. We went out in the boat, and within 45 minutes of getting out there, we came upon this mother whale and her cub, and she was teaching the cub how to like breach and slap the water. We saw all this activity. We must have seen them breach the water like 6 or 7 times. And then later in the trip, we saw a blue whale come up to the surface, which is the biggest animal in the world. And it was like enormous. It was mind blowing. And like I grew up going to the Natural History Museum in New York City, in Manhattan. And in that museum, they have a replica of a blue whale hanging from the ceiling in the main atrium. And I used to love like that blue whale because I was like, oh my God, it's so big. And then to like see one in person was mind blowing. Have I done any hiking in San Gabriel or Santa Monica? Yeah, I love the Los Leones Trail. I went up and did a hike, maybe like an hour, hour and a half north through these wildflowers. I forget the name of it though. I wonder if I can find it. And then we did a hike in the Angeles National Forest near Creek. That was super cool. Let me see if I can find the photos from this. I'll be able to tell me the location. It was like in the middle of the pandemic. But yeah, I love to do hiking around here. It's one of the great parts of living, in Los Angeles is like you're right by the ocean. There's also so much good hiking around. It was a long time ago. This was my Yosemite trip. Yosemite's great if you guys haven't gone there. Oh, here we go. Oh, it doesn't have the location. Yeah, I don't remember the name of the hike. It was cool. It was up in the like on the coast, not like past Malibu though. All right, any more schedule questions? If not, I'm gonna hop off and get dinner cooked. We've moved on to the Sauvignons. All right, I think that's about a wrap. I don't know when we're gonna do another one of these, but for now, click that link below. Go read my takes on the schedule. We've got rookie minicamp tomorrow morning. So that'll be fun to get down there and see some actual football practice. We'll see Zion Johnson on the field for the first time, JT Woods, Isaiah Spiller. I'll have my takeaways off of that. Um, and then we'll get into OTAs, which should be starting that third week of May. So yeah, we'll get into OTA takeaways. Maybe I'll do an OTA stream later this month. Maybe not that first week, but maybe after a couple OTAs, we'll do another stream. I know you guys really like this a lot, so we will make sure we do it. Staley, I don't think Staley is talking tomorrow. I can look that up for you. I think it's just the rookies. Yeah. So it's just the rookies at the podium tomorrow, and then Staley and Herbert are going to talk that first OTA, which is I believe the following Tuesday. So May, or maybe 2 Tuesdays later, either May 17th or May 24th. I think it's May 17th. But anyway, appreciate you guys. Click that link below for my scheduled takeaways. We will talk very, very soon. Peace out.